Hello, welcome to this first digital Ristretto. This is part of the digital cappuccino series, only shorter and smaller like a Ristretto. So today what we will talk about is how to boost your digital projects. We will talk together with Adam Maguire, my colleague. Hello.
Hello, Raphael. Happy to be here. I've been working for Microsoft since almost 10 years and 5 years on the delivery for Microsoft Consulting. I hope that our experience will help us, also to understand how to deliver a proper project. From your side, Raphael, remember us what you have done before?
Yeah, so I started working in my small company doing ERP software for the Swiss market. And so I've experienced firsthand how it works when you have to deliver this software to customers, the kind of questions they ask themselves. And also I answered to many requests for quotation from customers. And after that, I worked as a CIO in an international company spread across 3 continents, where I had to find the best solution for the business. So talk with the CEO, talk with the CFO, justify my investment, and make sure that everybody in the company is on board, that I select the right partner and the right software to bring these projects up to speed. In this overall series, we will talk about how to make your projects better. But in this first Ristretto, we will talk only about this first part, which is the preparation. So first, understand the impact of the cloud on your projects, because a lot has changed. Then how to prioritize and convince everybody that you have chosen the right project to start with. And finally, how to build this safety reserve that will accompany you through this journey so that you don't have a major problem during your project.
If I understood very well, Raphael, here we are talking about the early stage of a project, even before the project itself exists.
Exactly, and that's it. Even before you define the context of your project, your scope, and you write your requirements. So that's really before you start working on your project.
And it's very important because a good project, begin with this story. How to prepare it? Have you the right needs? Are you answering to the right questions? Do you have the budget, the right team, and how to do it?
So let's talk about the cloud and what has changed. A first point that is very dear to me and very important is that it is readily available.
Yes, Raphael, you're right. But we're talking about the cloud first. Do we have other options?
So, of course, you can still decide to stay on-prem, but even if you did, your management would ask you to consider the cloud and to challenge you about this. So the thing that is great with the cloud is that before you had to define completely your project, the solution you would choose, and know exactly how many resources you need, because you had to buy servers and install your application on the server because you could onboard any user. Now with the cloud, what you can do is subscribe to, for instance, a trial so that you can experiment out of the box the solution.
Another aspect very important is that the solution is always up to date. It means that you don't have to manage, after 3 years or 4 years, a big migration to have the last version of the product.
Exactly. Before you were doing your ERP project with a very skilled teams, your people were leaving because they didn't want to get involved in the day-to-day business, right? They were passionate about building the solution, but then they would leave. And after a few years of maintenance where you were not changing anything in the software, you had to do this big investment of kind of starting from scratch, right? And this is the time when you invest millions again to bring a team up to speed, and you have to retrain all your users. Now, the big difference with this cloud approach is that you receive features every month or so, and you can then absorb in a more natural way. If you're a human, it's not like you eat a big bunch of food for the month and then you live on it, right? A human is used to have the things little by little and to absorb it. This is what the cloud brings, a more natural way of ingesting the innovation.
It's bringing also a lot of things coming with, for example, new best practices on terms of approach. So less customization. What does it mean? It means that now, instead of doing like customization, doing your own functionalities, you will have to look if this functionality is existing. If, for example, Microsoft is bringing this functionality, and you will have to use it before doing your own. So it means that limited the customization. It's like a new way of working also. Instead of reinventing the wheel, you have to use what is existing and to configure it, not to customize it, but to configure it to your business need.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And also, it's very modular. So before, when you were buying an ERP, the ERP was meant to do everything. You had your accounts receivable sitting together with your field service applications, together with your ticketing. And the people that were creating ERPs were like, okay, we will solve everything. That basically doesn't work, and it makes projects extremely difficult because this architecture is monolithic, meaning you have to put everything in place before you can start again. And what we've come up with is really simple applications. That's why at Microsoft we don't talk about ERP and CRM anymore. We talk about sales to equip the salespeople. If we want to implement just that, we can. And then customer service. And then you have something like field service, and you can pick and choose what parts of the software you want to put in place and when.
Absolutely, Raphael. It is really this removing the silos from the companies and having a discussion that is focused on my needs. I'm in finance and I want to implement a functionality that is, for example, customer service with ticket management. It's not a new project. It's just activating new capabilities in my global solution, my business app solutions, in this case, Dynamics 365. The beauty of that is also it's easier to learn because you have modules, quite out of the box, and then you have a standard way of using that.
Exactly. And one thing that is very dear to me is the way you choose your project, right? Because you will be challenged. You are doing hard projects, okay? So you must be able to go to your management and explain why this is important. You must have proper reasons to start your project. Even if somebody came to you and said, hey, implement an ERP, you must still convince all the employees of the company to do it, right? So here is a very simple approach that you can do on an Excel sheet, and don't overcomplicate it, because if you add too many columns, add too many details, it will be more difficult to explain than at an executive level. So my advice is summarized in this slide. You basically put all the projects that you have. It's called a project portfolio. Just one line describing, okay, I want to automate expenses, make a customer portal, make a global ERP, and so on. And then you just put the impact that you think it will have on your business and how difficult it is to do. For instance, somebody is asking me to automate expenses. Okay, we all want this app where we take a picture of our receipt at the restaurant and it's automatically put as an expense. Is it really something important? How does it work for now? Maybe everybody is happy with taking all the receipt, putting it in an envelope and sending it to the administration. And what happens is that you're simplifying the life of two people taking care of the expenses and not simplifying the life of everybody, because everybody will need to install a new app to be trained on it. And maybe this is very difficult to implement and there is very low impact, because this is not because you make your expenses better that you earn more money. But you can do at the same time a customer portal. If you do a customer portal, you see that you will impact directly your customers, making them more happy, having a direct reach to your customers. So the impact in terms of business is huge, and it is easier to do. So just by making a simple sort in this table, you will be able then to have a sorted list of your projects, and you can just start from the top and down.
And Raphael, it's a very smart approach, because what we are used to see with customers sometimes is they want to have the big plan, all the digital transformation in one project. That we know will not work, because it will provide a huge difficulty in projects, a huge cost, and a huge risk for the company.
This is very true. And we need to embrace agility because making strategy is great, but how do you plan for 5 years when the market as a whole changes every 6 months? So this is not realistic. So this way enables you to really change your focus when you need, make smaller projects, and also have everybody on board after 6 months into your project when you have burnt a lot of money and they come to you and say, hey, why you didn't start with the expenses? That's what I told you. Well, you explain them, hey, look, I had another project with more impact and less difficult to do. So yes, we are in the middle of it, but you can easily understand why we started with this one.
Yeah, it's a good point, Raphael. So, in fact, what we are talking since the beginning of this Ristretto is how our solution, how the fact to prepare this solution is very different from before. So before you had one big project each 5 years or 10 years, and you have to change completely the company. Now you have one project, smaller project, maybe with some parts, different parts that you can manage independently. And you have this vision that will never stop. In fact, your project will never stop, but the overall cost will be lower than before because you have project that is more adapted to your life cycle, your company business of rhythm, etc. And you can adapt. If you need, for example, in 6 months or 1 year, a multi-channel communication with WhatsApp, or if you want to use, for example, another channel like Line or using another or Facebook, for example, then it's possible to adapt it very easily in your solution because it's modular.
This is true. And another point, last point that I want to discuss in this session with you is how do you build your team? Because I see that when we start a large project, it's always important to have the right team. So what is the right team in your experience?
In my experience, the right team is since the beginning, you need to have first people from the business. Never start a project with business. 2, you need to have also sponsors. So sponsors at the highest level possible. Why? Because you need also to have people able to invest, to believe in your project and to support you.
And that's internal sponsors, right? So think about the CFO, the CEO, the head of sales, anybody that has a huge impact on the company and that people follow.
Absolutely. And don't also forget people that are not directly on board in this project, but you need also to identify from the beginning what we call the champion. In the project, you need champions. So people that will be some representative from the project.
Yeah. So that's what we often see in the projects called key users. Those key users are in charge of a functional area, like think finance or sales. So you would have one key user for finance, one key user for sale, and those people must have a passion to bring their knowledge to other people because those people will train the others once they understood and master what they want in the software, and they must convince the others that they made the right choice when they guided the partner or the editor to put in place this software.
And you need a profile also that will make the link between the business and the pure IT. It's very important to have one person that is able to understand the business and to translate for the IT and vice versa, because the two populations are not speaking exactly the same language and that don't have the same objectives.
Exactly. And another thing is really have the right mix between the partner, implementation partners, so external resources and your internal resources, right? So you don't want to delegate everything because that doesn't work. And at the same time, you don't want to rely only on your internal resources. So you have to find this right mix. Find the right experts. And one thing is, don't buy necessarily a brand. What you're buying is people, okay? You're buying the time of people. So be very careful about what people you involve in your project. That's a success made by people. It's not a matter of having 300,000 consultants. Is who inside those 300,000 consultants of the company you hire are going to work on your project.
One very important last profile in this area for the preparation is one time you have an idea of what you are targeting, let's say as a business area and maybe solutions, to hire an expert from an external expert that is able to help you to design properly, to know what could be the budget, could know what could be the risk, and to be able to directly go to the right solution, right team, right definition. It's very important, and you will save a lot of money and a lot of time.
This is true. And this person, in my experience, the best place is somebody independent, okay? That has the guts to tell your management or yourself, you're making a mistake here. The provider is right. The partner is right. Or to go to the partner and say, no, you're exaggerating. Sorry, I know the market. I know how it works. So this person has a negotiator profile and has a good leadership. This is much more important than the fine-grained technical skills, because those you can buy. But this profile of leader that is external and that is kind of neutral to arbitrage everything is very important in your project. Okay, so I think we've discussed all the points we wanted to discuss in this first session. We will be very happy to bring you the next one, in which we will discuss how to prepare your scope, your requirements, and how to make your purchasing easier.
And please share with us your feedbacks. If you have any questions, things you want to have more details on, we will be happy to answer.
Very good. Thank you very much, Adam. See you next time.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you.
Bye.